driving force for the heavy thundery showers some of us have had today, and also those strong gusty winds in places too. But a lot of that is easing as we go through this evening and overnight. Not turning completely dry though, a few showery bursts of rain here and there and some more persistent rain pushing in from western parts of Scotland. But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire for example, but elsewhere quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland, and then across much of England and Wales. Yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain is not going to be quite as heavy as what we've seen through today, so less chance of seeing any hail, some lightning, some thunder, but nonetheless it will be a bit damp at times, and perhaps the heaviest showers will be across parts of Scotland where they could merge into some longer spells of rain. Otherwise, there are actually a greater chance of seeing the sun compared to today, and with that and slightly lighter winds, for many it is going to feel a little bit warmer. Now, as we go through into Wednesday, actually through the bulk of the day, Wednesday's looking largely fine for most places. A few showers towards the northwest, but lots of dry weather. However, later on we are likely to see some very wet weather pushing into the south, and that takes us into a very unsettled day for many places, particularly across England and Wales on Thursday, with very strong winds and heavy rain.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight.
Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Sadiq Khan is accused of a grooming gang cover-up and...
Head of that survivors panel meeting with two prospective chairs tomorrow, that not all of the members on the panel have been permitted to attend and ask questions.
GBNews will reveal shocking details of the botched rape gang inquiry. And I'm joined by a rape gang survivor. It looks like the authorities are trying to hide the Pakistani Muslim aspect to it yet again. Also tonight.
You believe the things about Jesus and the kingdom of God? Can I baptise you in the name of the Lord Jesus?
Yes, I do. Illegal migrants are being baptised in baths in migrant hotels. Plus...
You're under arrest.
Police will no longer investigate non-crime hate incidents like the one involving comedian Graham Linehan. Plus...
But they are not entitled to dictate who can participate in competitions, attend a football match, or walk the streets for fear of threats or reprisals.
Well, is it right that Tel Aviv fans are now allowed in Birmingham? And
a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
Grief. Breaking news on the front page of the Daily Telegraph. Prince Andrew was deemed a potential national security risk because of his close links to alleged Chinese spies. I'll bring you more of that when I do the front pages at 10:30 p.m. with my panel, who this evening are Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We've got trade unionist, it says Andy McDonald there, but I've got Andy 12s. There you go, I know who Andy McDonald is. Reform Party member and former Tory Party chairman, Sir Jake Berry. And what's going on here? Get ready, Britain, here we go. Illegal migrants are being baptised in migrant hotels. Next.
Good evening, it's 2 minutes past 9. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB newsroom. The Metropolitan Police has said it will no longer investigate non-crime hate incidents. The move comes after it was announced today that comedian Graham Linehan would face no further action over 3 gender-critical tweets. The Met said that the decision to no longer investigate such incidents will provide clearer direction for officers. In a statement, the force said that the Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, doesn't believe officers should be policing toxic culture wars debates, with current laws and rules on inciting violence online leaving them in what he calls an impossible position. Non-crime hate incidents are incidents that do not count as crimes but are perceived to be motivated by hatred towards certain characteristics such as race or gender. Elsewhere today, a palace source has told GB News that allegations against Prince Andrew should be examined in an appropriate way. The Metropolitan Police is actively looking into the allegations that he asked his taxpayer-funded bodyguard to dig the dirt on his sex accuser, Virginia Giuffre. It follows revelations in her memoir alleging Andrew's team even tried to hire internet trolls to hassle her online. Today, Downing Street would not be drawn on whether Parliament should pass legislation to strip Prince Andrew of his titles. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said that the question of legislation was a matter for the palace in the first instance and that ministers support the judgment of the King regarding Andrew's titles. He denies all allegations. The Conservatives are calling on the government to restructure their inquiry into grooming gangs, demanding an independent, judge-led inquiry. The Tories say that Labour should ensure the inquiry is independent, credible and led by a sitting or recently retired senior judge. In response, a Number 10 spokesman said that the government is working hard to get the right chairman in place, adding that they won't be providing a running commentary on the appointment. Both Fiona Goddard and Ellie Reynolds have resigned from the survivor-victim panel today amid concerns about the scope of the inquiry. University tuition fees in England will increase every year in line with inflation from 2026 onwards, the Education Secretary has announced. Bridget Phillipson confirmed that fees will increase for the next 2 years and said the government will then legislate to make the increase happen automatically every year after that. Maintenance loans will also increase in line with forecast inflation each academic year. The Education Secretary said she will not allow institutions who don't take quality seriously to make their students pay more. And Amazon says it's fixed the original problem that caused a major internet outage this morning, but that full recovery to all sites will take more time. More than 1,000 companies have been hit by the outage affecting Amazon's cloud system. Apps including Snapchat, Duolingo and even UK banks like Lloyds and Halifax have all been caught up in the chaos. The web service said that they were dealing with significant error rates at one of its main data centres in the US. The outage has triggered a wave of complaints online, with users warning the internet's gone dark. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Let's go back to Patrick.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Good evening. Illegal migrants are being baptised in bathtubs in migrant hotels, and I think they're doing it so that they can claim asylum in Britain. According to The Telegraph, a Christian charity is going into migrant hotels, dunking blokes from the Middle East in some bathwater, and that means they can say that if we sent them home to places like Iran, they'd face persecution. Here's one of them. He's getting a really good dunking. How much do you want to bet that that bloke never sets foot inside a church? I mean, for bleeding heart lefties who think this is an isolated example, it's not. Afghan acid attacker Abdul Azidi converted to Christianity, allegedly. He was allowed to stay in Britain despite being a registered sex offender. He then doused a woman and child in acid and threw himself off a bridge. Now, what did this good Christian man do for a funeral? Oh yeah, he had a Muslim burial ceremony. This Iraqi guy pretended to convert to Christianity. Oh yeah, he just blew himself up outside Liverpool Maternity Hospital. A Bangladeshi man who had served 12 years in prison for murdering his wife successfully appealed against the Home Office's attempts to deport him, saying that he was a Christian convert and that he would be at risk in his predominantly Muslim country in Bangladesh. The length some people would go to is absolutely extraordinary. One Iranian man was sentenced to 18 months for assault. He was going to be deported, so he got a load of Christian tattoos. And a judge let him stay even though he didn't believe he was actually a Christian. Another Iranian man was sentenced to 7.5 years for sexual assault. He got a tattoo of a crucifix and was, allowed to stay in Britain because, of course, how could we deport a man like that? An Iranian man was sentenced to 10 years in jail for drug dealing offences. A judge granted him the right to remain in the UK despite describing his claim to have converted to Christianity as, quotes, insincere. So we're letting them stay, even if the judges think they're lying to them. A Pakistani man failed an asylum claim. He started preaching the Bible on the streets. He found a reverend who had never met him before to vouch for him, and then he was allowed to stay in Britain, despite the judge acknowledging that he hadn't started being a Christian preacher until after he'd already been scheduled for deportation. Sometimes they're made to complete Christianity tests, and when they fail them, they're still allowed to stay anyway. So an Iranian man who was sentenced to 4 years in jail for drug and driving offences and resisting arrest managed to get his deportation order overturned, despite referring to Black Friday rather than Good Friday and getting the denomination of his church wrong. One bloke, this is my favourite, one bloke who claimed to be a Christian had accidentally been going to a synagogue for months. Yeah. I mean, there is a great big Christianity con going on here. I actually find it personally offensive that people are not just abusing our country and our tax money and our hospitality, but also our national religion. You combine that story with this as well today. A Nigerian bloke pretended to be a woman and worked in the NHS for months. He was fined a couple of £100, he wasn't sent to prison, and he won't be deported. And just have a little look at this, will you? 80.4% of social housing in one area of Leicester is occupied by foreign nationals. There's loads of examples of that taking place, by the way. So we're paying for all of that housing for foreign nationals. We are being rinsed. Those Christian migrant hotel converters and gullible church leaders need to have a long, hard look at themselves. As I think, anyway, they are making it easier for illegal migrants to stay in Britain. Let's get the thoughts of my panel. And we've got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We have also got trade unionist Andy Twelves and Reform member, former Tory party chairman, Sir Jake Berry. There is a clip that we played in the intro there of one of these baptisms taking place in a bath in a migrant hotel. So we'll bring that up in a minute or two. But Carol, your initial reaction to people being converted to Christianity to stay in Britain?
Well, I mean, this is a very weird sect, because they're not Christians. They're called, what are they called? The Christadelphilians or something. There's only 50,000 in the entire world. Well,
there's more now.
Well, there's about 10 more this week. But this is just another way to scam and exploit our system. And, you know, we can all see through it here. We're laughing. But what you've just explained in your intro there is basically that no migrant is going to be deported for anything in this country. It's probably even a waste of their time actually converted, because it doesn't matter. If your kid doesn't like chicken nuggets, you don't get deported anyway. But I mean, one of the guys who's a volunteer in this faith said today he had social media posts on of these baptisms. He's now got rid of them. He was asked about whether he believed these people were sincere in their conversion. And he said, well, I'm not going to get into whether they're sincere or not. So he doesn't give a stuff if his religion's been exploited either. And what we didn't know, do we know whether they're charging for these baptisms, this church? Do we know that?
Well, I doubt it, because they're a charity, aren't they? So, I mean,
how do charities function without money? So it would just be interesting to know if they're charging people this. But this has clearly come from all these human rights lawyers who've just found yet another way to let even more people
and especially the tattoos, isn't it? It's like, look, you're on your way out. You're back to Tehran in the morning. But if you get a sleeve of if you get Jesus's face tattooed on your forearm, just let's have a little look at these migrant hotel baptisms. Then here you go. Brace yourselves, everybody.
You believe the things about Jesus and the kingdom of God? Can I baptise you in the name of the Lord Jesus?
Yes.
There he is, just curled up in quite a grubby migrant hotel bathtub there, converting.
They have to be fully covered with water.
Wow, and we're going to need a bigger bathtub, aren't we?
For him, yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, what I found extraordinary is the guy, Carol says, works for this slightly odd charity, said if you lie down in a bath, that means you're Christian. I wonder how many people have accidentally converted on sort of having a good soak in the tub. But there is a serious point about this. You talked about Abdulaziz and the Liverpool bomber. Yeah. You know, there is obviously... We live in a world where all of the people who are migrants here in the UK, many of them are given mobile phones, they look at things on the internet, they communicate with each other. There is obviously now almost an industrial industry where they communicate with each other and say, look, this is what you need to say to be allowed to stay, whether that's you say you're gay, you're trans, you know, you're a child, people pretending to be children, and now this mass conversion to Christianity. And what made those two previous conversions, Abdulaziz and the Liverpool Women's Hospital bomber, really interesting is they were converted by the Church of England. Yeah. And people at the time came out and criticised our national church, our established church here in the United Kingdom, the Church of England. And the critics, the whistleblowers within the Church of England were shouted down by the Archbishop of Canterbury, you think he's still just holding on, Justin Welby, and the Archbishop of York, who were standing up at the time in the House of Lords, using their positions in the House of Lords to say that the government was cruel for wanting to control our borders. So the charity, all well and good, but what I really think is the issue is our established church playing along with it. That cannot be right.
Yeah, but it's right across the board. I mean, Abdulaziz was baptised by some random, it turns out, all joking aside, a Baptist denomination. Swahili, I think, was Church of England. Yeah. He's the Liverpool bomber. And these guys are this Christian sect. I mean, just anecdotally, I used to live in Maidenhead. There was a church at the end of my road that I used to go to, and just further down the road was a Holiday Inn full of illegal migrants. And every single Sunday, there was a load of illegal migrants from places like Iran at the back of the church. And I just remember thinking, well, you know, this is the kind of game that they appear to be playing. Andy, what do you make of this? I mean, it just appear like again, it's another attempt to game the system. system. I mean, the judges are even saying when they don't believe that they're actually Christian, they're still letting them stay in Britain just in case.
Yeah, I think, obviously, this is wrong. You know, I don't think there's going to be any Ofcom balance on anyone saying that this is the right thing to do. I think there should be the protections in place for genuine religious persecution, as everyone on this panel, I think, would agree with. But, you know, we need to make sure it's not being exploited. I think it's really bold. You've got Chris Philp, the shadow Home Secretary, Tory party man, minister for a few years when they were in government. And he's going, no, I'm outraged that this has happened.
Well, he didn't do anything about it, though, did he?
When he was in government, the Tory party saying they're going to abolish all these things, they're going to change all these things, as if this wasn't going on when they were in power. So I do struggle with some of the commentary on the. I think this was in the Telegraph. I just don't understand how they got the brass neck to do it.
But we have to get tough, don't we? We've got to make it so that migrants they shouldn't be able to claim asylum on religious grounds, because once you have that in place, they're all going to claim it on religious grounds.
Correct.
They give them an inch and then take a mile. I just don't think we should be getting into granting anyone asylum on the grounds of their religion, because we'll be exposed.
Isn't the fundamental problem is these individuals who are claiming asylum are in our country for too long. They should be detained on the beach in Dover. They should be taken to a detention centre and should be processed quickly. Before you say the Conservatives didn't do it, that's one of the reasons I'm no longer a Conservative. But this government, which had the plan to smash the gangs and was going to do all these sort of things, it hasn't happened. I don't want to pay for people to be in hotels. I don't think anyone does, actually. These people should not be in our country. We need to remove them quickly to stop this sort of fake Christianity, fake being gay, fake being trans. They should not be here.
I actually do think it is offensive that the religion of Christianity is being used as a way of gaming the asylum. I mean, I actually do think there is for all the joking about the bloke that kept turning up to a synagogue thinking that it was a church, and he got found out when he was asked to point it out on a map, and it's like, sorry, you've actually been Jewish for a month. You know, you've not been Christian at all. But there is a serious point there. I do find it quite personally offensive about that. And there are a couple of other points that I raised in there, which is a wider picture, Andy, of just how ridiculous our immigration system as a whole is at the minute. You've got the bloke who turned up to a hospital to work there for a period of time, pretending to be a woman with a badge with her picture on it, and no one questioned. He was basically cleaning patients.
That's a question for the NHS managers. I fear if you're checking in every day at security desk, checking in for your payroll, and you go, oh, your name's not Melanie or whatever it is. You know,
the point there is that we're not deporting him, and he's not been sent to prison.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he should be sent to prison. I think he should certainly be disciplined for it. I mean, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
He should be, because he was treating people in the National Health Service.
He wasn't treating people. I think it was a poor job.
He was caring for them.
He was a nurse. He was a nurse.
That is bad then.
He should be sent to prison.
I thought he was being aborted.
Every time I go into a building with a pass and it's just like run out or something, I get stopped and questioned a million times, even though the people say me every day.
You look suspicious.
And yet this bloke, but then this bloke, he's posing as a different gender.
It's ridiculous.
And he gets let in. It's a joke. But the bottom line is, and you said it in your intro, it doesn't matter what you do in this country, whether you're a paedophile, whether you hurt people, whether you're a robber, whether you're a rapist, you get to stay.
But there was another story doing the rounds.
Yes.
Right, and this was about Labour Police and Crime Commissioners. 3
Labour Police and Crime Commissioners in this country. It's Durham, Northumbria and Cleveland. They brought out this ludicrous leaflet, which is they say they're dispelling the myths about migrants. A joke. Everything they say on this leaflet is a lie. Basically, they're saying that migrants give more than they take. It's a lie. They're saying that crime is not higher because of migrants. It's a lie. We can disprove that. I mean, I could name 3 newspaper investigations right now from the Mail, from the Times and from the Sun that say exactly, they give numbers, times, places of crimes from migrants in these hotels. The Times did a piece saying that the Channel crossing migrants are 24 times more likely to end up in jail. So all of this stuff, and this leaflet was all about it's brainwashing people into believing that migrants are doing this country no harm, when people know that is not the case.
And Jake, as well, just to round us off on this, because there was the other aspect of that monologue I did earlier on. In part, I mean, I just highlighted Leicester there, but I could have done it around Westminster, I could have done it around vast swathes of Britain. 80.4% of that particular part of Leicester there, the social housing was to people who were born outside of Britain. So we've got people pretending to convert to Christianity, people posing as women in the NHS and not being sent to prison, and then we're just giving a load of foreigners social housing.
Look, there should just be a simple rule. If you haven't contributed to this country, you can't have one of our desperately needed social homes. We don't have enough of them. And actually, if we deported people, figures have shown we could release 250,000 houses to people who live in this country, people who have contributed to this country their whole life. That would smash the Labour Party's house-building target out of the park.
In London alone, nearly 50%, 48% of social housing is to a foreign national.
I think there is a serious point here, though, about the contribution. If they are coming here and contributing, they've been here for decades, I think they should be entitled to social housing.
If they are, yeah.
But I think that most of these people will be. They'll probably be retired. Probably they'll have a father or a mother. In Leicester, yeah. They absolutely carried Leicester's industries throughout the 60s, 70s and 80s.
They didn't do it for free, did they?
They absolutely did. You know, they put in lots of tax money.
Come on, I would love to go and see that exact bit of...
The Office for Budget Responsibility says low-wage migrants will cost us £150,000.
Well, that's on the bosses that are paying them low wages instead of paying them a proper wage for their labour. That is the point.
It's the entrepreneur's fault. There we go.
We got Jeff Bezos, an entrepreneur, with his massive warehouse.
I think in light of that, there was maybe that part of Leicester is deserving of a little bit of a report from yours truly. But in response to reports of illegal migrants being baptised in bathtubs at migrant hotels, a Home Office spokesperson told GB News the UK has a proud history of welcoming those who are genuinely fleeing religious persecution. Religious conversions do not guarantee refugee status. All applications are carefully considered on their merits. We actually did approach Durham, Northumbria and Cleveland police and crime commissioners that Carol mentioned there. They've not got back to us, so there you go. Anyway, a lot more coming your way. I'm going to tell you all about it, and I think there's some big things that are going to make tomorrow's headlines, so get them first here when it comes to that grooming gang fast. But before that, of course, here's how you can be in it to win it with the Great British Giveaway. £30,000 in tax-free cash, big motorhome. Here's how.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Someone is guaranteed to win our biggest prize to date, so make sure that winner could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Coming up, I'm going to be joined live by a grooming gang survivor who today sensationally quit the inquiry panel, blasting the government's attempts to silence victims, but also to try to mask the true scale of the problem amongst the Pakistani Muslim community. Plus, Charlie Peters has got a massive exclusive that exposes the disdain this government has got for grooming gang survivors. But before all of that... Well, the Gaza gang are claiming victory today after an Israeli football match was cancelled following violent riots involving Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. However, we've got a bit more information for that on you. And also, there was a sensational outburst in the House of Commons today by one and only Zara Sultana. So is it right that those Maccabi Tel Aviv fans will now be allowed in Birmingham? Stay tuned.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. In just a few minutes' time, I'm going to be joined live by the grooming gang survivor who sensationally quit the inquiry panel today. She's blasted the government for attempting to mask the Pakistani Muslim aspect, but also trying to censor the victims. She's going to blow the lid off what's really going on in Sir Keir Starmer's incredibly reluctant rape gang inquiry. But first, were the authorities right to ban Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from a Europa League match in Birmingham next month? It's kicked off again today. It's time for the head-to-head. Well, I'm sure you saw yesterday, Birmingham MP Ayub Khan and the rest of his Gaza gang have claimed victory after an Israeli football match was cancelled last night following violent rioting, supposedly involving some of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. Let's have a little look at this. Yeah, slight problem there, of course, is that many eagle-eyed people will notice that Maccabi Tel Aviv do not play in red. So that appears to be the other team that they were playing against. But the news comes just days after the decision to ban Maccabi fans from a Europa League match in Birmingham. Sparked widespread criticism. The coach's secretary, Lisa Nandy, has today pledged that the government will find the resources to allow the fans to attend next month. So it's happening. They're coming. But those that claim the decision was only ever about the behaviour of Maccabi fans have claimed victory after that derby was cancelled. In fact, here is pro-Palestine lawyer Ahmed Yacoub.
Maccabi Tel Aviv match has been banned, yes, that's right, but not the one that was meant to be played in Villa, the one that was meant to be played in Tel Aviv. It was banned because of the hooliganism of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. That's why we did not want them in our city, and that's why we welcomed that ban that was imposed by West Midlands Police. So Keir Starmer, Shabana Mahmood, who is now anti-Semitic? Is it the Israeli police or is it the Tel Aviv players? Who is it? Let us know.
Well, obviously, he's a voice of reason. Let's go now to my head-to-head on this. Maccabi Tel Aviv fan Yosef Haddad and the editor-at-large at the Tribune magazine, Carl Hansen. Thank you very much. Great to see you. Yosef, I'll start with you. Firstly, is it true that it really kicked off with Maccabi Tel Aviv fans and that you are basically now self-evidently a bunch of violent thugs?
I'm absolutely laughing, especially that hearing that self-called lawyer or whatever it is, because in fact it was Hapoel Tel Aviv fan who made all the mess, and right now they are facing a technical loss of 3-0, and none of Maccabi Tel Aviv even participated in that. So it's crazy to see how they incite and how they lie. This is the only way they know and how to use this incitement to actually convince other people. In Israel, nobody talks about the role of Maccabi Tel Aviv because there was no role in Maccabi Tel Aviv fans taking any part of the match. Only Hapoel Tel Aviv fans. But you know what? I'm not surprised they lie. That's how they do it. That's it.
OK, all right, I'll come to you now, Carl. I've just got a statement here from Ayub Khan, right, who is now obviously trying to claim that this was all about football hooliganism. He's been vindicated all along. I'm going to read the statement here. Sports entertainment events should be enjoyed by all, regardless of their race, ethnicity and background, but there are rare instances where the, quote, political dynamics surrounding such spectacles cannot be ignored. So it was never really about the football hooliganism, was it, for Mr. Khan? It was always about the wider politics. Should he just admit that, do you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, sorry, that's to Carl. Sorry, to Carl. Sorry, that's to Carl.
Yeah, all right, well...
Is Carl there?
It's still absolutely...
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that context is important. Of course, the West Midlands Police made a decision based on the evidence and the information that they already possessed about the criminal, thug, hooligan elements of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. And I think that's the basis for banning them. But of course, you can't separate it entirely. The Maccabi fans chant about murdering children and raping women and committing war crimes, and that's an inciting factor in all of this.
But why didn't Ayub Khan mention any of that initially? Because in the statement that he's put here, by the way, this has been echoed by Tim Farrod, who's a Liberal Democrat MP, former leader of the Lib Dems, who's very much not on Ayub Khan's side on this, saying, you know, why didn't he mention this football hooliganism that you talk of and these chants at the time? He said it was about the political dynamics.
Well, there's two things at play. One is just the basic public order, public safety question about letting a bunch of notorious violent hooligans to run amok on the streets of Birmingham. But the second one is the wider issue about the political dynamics. Israel has been committing a genocide for 2 years, so of course its team shouldn't be allowed to participate in European competitions. It should be banned on both of those grounds, but let's not get them confused.
OK, well, as you saw, yes, maybe you want to have a word with Ayub Khan about getting those things confused. But Yosef, can I just play you a clip here now? This is of Zara Sultana in the House of Commons today. Here's what she had to say.
Maccabi Tel Aviv's racist fan hooliganism cannot be separated from Israeli militarism. Many of these fans are active or former soldiers who have taken part in Israel's genocide in Gaza. They should be investigated for war crimes the moment they set foot onto British soil, not welcomed into our stadiums.
Yosef, your reaction to that?
Well, just before I react to that, I'd like to say or to show Carl this photo of Paris Saint-Germain fans when they are chanting Free Palestine with the image of Hamas terrorists actually putting on that banner. And I would like to ask him, Hamas terrorists and Hamas are designated as terrorist organization in a lot of parts of Europe, in the United States. Should then we ban all Paris Saint-Germain fans? Should we make sure that they never ever play football again? And keep in mind, it's the Champions League winner, yeah? And they are supporting terrorists. They're putting the face of terrorists on their banners as fans. Not to talk about Osasuna fans who say, destroy Israel. Should we also maybe ban them and kick them out of football in the Spanish league? Listen, it's not about any hooliganism. It's not about any chant. It's about the simple fact of anti-Semitism mixed with anti-Israeli people who hate to see an Israeli team playing in Villa Park, playing in the UK. And on top of that, let's say it as it is, the authorities in Britain are saying we cannot handle supporters of terrorism, and that's why we cannot act like this. So we're going to ban Paris Saint-Germain and other teams.
All right,
that
look,
chant
Carl, we're
and
going to have to be
act
quite quick, Carl. I just want to let you come back to a bit of that, but please do try to keep it snappy if that's all right, mate.
I think if you think that saying free Palestine and chanting about murdering children...
No, I'm not talking about free Palestine. Don't change my word. I'm talking about putting Hamas on it.
You're showing me a sign that says free Palestine.
I think there's also a Hamas
so don't change what
on it.
I'm trying to say. I didn't say free Palestine. I don't care about this. I care about the fact that they put a Hamas terrorist on their banners. So don't twist it.
All right, guys.
The question.
Very quick, Carl, then we've got to go, otherwise I'm going to get shouted out.
These Maccabi hooligans are a threat to public safety, and many of them are war criminals who have been committing the genocide.
Should we ban
They're not victims of this scenario.
Guys.
They're a risk to anyone wherever they go.
Right, okay, well, there we go. We're not going to agree, are we? So there we are. Thank you very much, both of you. Good stuff. I hope to talk to you again very, very soon. Coming up, look, some big breaking news tonight. The Metropolitan Police will stop investigating non-crime hate incidents. I'm going to be joined by someone very close to one of those incidents in the past. That wasn't an incident, but you get what I mean. But before that, I'm going to be joined live by a grooming gang survivor who quit an inquiry panel today. This comes amid the backdrop of people, including Sadiq Khan, being accused of a grooming gang cover-up, which he denies. Stay tuned.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's an unsettled picture across much of the Mediterranean over the next couple of days, with heavy showers around, particularly across northern parts of Spain and Portugal, southern parts of France, northern parts of Italy, perhaps even some snow over the Alps too. Southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece and northern parts of Turkey faring better in terms of some sunny spells, and temperatures quite widely in the high teens or low 20s for many, but with a bit more dry weather around as we head through the second half of the week. Those temperatures on the rise into the low, potentially mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again, good evening. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, there will be some further showers, some further rain at times, but also a bit of dry weather for some. The big talking point, though, currently is the low pressure that's across us. It's this that's been the driving force for the heavy, thundery showers some of us have had today, and also those strong, gusty winds in places too. But a lot of that is easing as we go through this evening and overnight. Not turning completely dry, though. A few showery bursts of rain here and there, and some more persistent rain pushing in from western parts of Scotland. But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire, for example. But elsewhere, quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud, which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland. And then across much of England and Wales, yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain is not going to be quite as heavy as what we've seen through today, so less chance of seeing any hail, some lightning, some thunder, but nonetheless, it will be a bit damp at times, and perhaps the heaviest showers will be across parts of Scotland where they could merge into some longer spells of rain. Otherwise, there are actually a greater chance of seeing the sun compared to today, and with that and slightly lighter winds, for many it is going to feel a little bit warmer. Now, as we go through into Wednesday, actually through the bulk of the day, Wednesday's looking largely fine for most places. A few showers towards the northwest, but lots of dry weather. However, later on we are likely to see some very wet weather pushing into the south, and that takes us into a very unsettled day for many places, particularly across England and Wales on Thursday, with very strong winds and heavy rain.
the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. So the Prime Minister's very reluctant grooming gang inquiry has been dealt a massive blow after not one but two grooming gang survivors resigned from a panel amid political interference concerns. In a letter published this morning, Bradford survivor Fiona Goddard stepped down from the victims' panel. She said the secretive conduct and conditions imposed on survivors has led to a toxic, fearful environment, and there is a high risk of people feeling silenced all over again. Well, her resignation was actually swiftly followed by that of Barrow grooming gang survivor Ellie Ann Reynolds, who said the push to widen the remit of the national inquiry would downplay, quote, the racial and religious motivations behind the abuse they suffered, basically trying to skirt around the Pakistani Muslim issue, which, to be honest with you, is, I think, the main thing. Well, I'm joined now by Fiona Goddard herself. And firstly, Fiona, can I just say a massive thank you for coming on the show and talking to me this evening. It really is much appreciated. Would you just like to outline to my viewers and listeners what this aspect of being silenced was for you?
So they asked us to sign a confidentiality agreement which centred around survivors' anonymity and making sure that their opinions were protected. So we all agreed with that because survivors' anonymity is really important, and we signed it, but then it slowly developed into them telling us not to disclose any impressions we got, any material we were given, or anything, like basically anything by the end of it. We wasn't allowed to talk about anything to anyone.
So you basically were not allowed to talk about anything to do with this inquiry. There's also been an issue with the people that they want to appoint as the chairs of this inquiry, hasn't there? And I believe I'm right in saying that one of them is in the police and another one has got a history of social care. Two areas where, frankly, there's been accusations of a big cover-up, hasn't there?
Yeah, so one of the things I pointed out in my letter was during the trial of the men that abused me, the judge actually questioned every single potential jury member on any type of connection they had to police forces, social care of any kind. And anyone, even a teacher, because they worked hand in hand with social services, were removed from the jury because of bias. So I don't understand how in this inquiry that hasn't also come into play. These people both worked in the public sectors, two of the most important public sectors to be investigating during the period of time that this scandal is going to be looking at. So I just don't understand how they were even considered for the role.
And you were due to ask some questions to these prospective candidates, and as I understand it, you were told that you had to submit your questions in advance. They even wanted to give you the questions themselves for you to ask them. Is that right?
Yeah, so they gave us pointers on what we should consider asking. But I just found it absurd that we're supposed to basically be able to prepare these candidates for what questions we want to ask them. They will have time to prepare any answers. They said that they were doing it to try and stop any overlapping questions, but I think that was just an excuse so then the candidates could prepare themselves.
Well, of course it was, and it's also very offensive, I think, to people like yourselves who've been looked down on and sneered at for a very long period of time. The implication there being that you would not be capable of coming up with the questions yourselves and asking the right questions, all that. I find it absolutely ludicrous. Can I ask you, one of your, I don't know what the colleagues is not the right word, of course, but people who was going to be with you on this, this inquiry has also resigned, a fellow survivor, saying that the risk of them broadening the scope of this means that it would not be focusing on really the racial or religious aspects to this, i.e. the kind of Pakistani Muslim aspect, I think. What do you make of that?
There's huge concerns of them trying to expand the scope. So they're asking us whether it should be a grooming gang inquiry or if the scope should be broadened to cover other aspects of child sexual exploitation or abuse. The fear is broadening the scope is going to water down any kind of data we get, whether that's ethnicity or even in relation to accountability of the councils of this specific type of crime. It's just going to water it down. The fear is we're going to end up with another ICSA. The scope's going to be too broad, and we're not going to get to the root cause of any issue.
So you think that they are really... Do you honestly really think that they're trying to do everything that they possibly can to avoid the true scale of what I will say is Pakistani rape gangs being revealed to the nation?
Yes, I do. I don't think they want to not just deal with the issue of the ethnicities of the men, but the huge failings from the services. They try and make it out like it was just a mistake or a misunderstanding, and it wasn't. It was corruption. That's what it was. It was intentional decisions to let these men abuse us. No one would have possibly not understood that a child was being abused, that they knew what was happening and they chose to turn a blind eye.
And just finally, Fiona, I've got you. I know there's a lot of hoo-ha about Sadiq Khan today, and whether or not he can have been aware of the scale of the issues in London specifically. I know that you're from Bradford. Do you think that London has a grooming gang problem, had a grooming gang problem? Did you have any examples of it yourself? And do you find it unlikely that the Mayor of London didn't know about them?
London most definitely has a grooming gang issue. The grooming gangs work through the same networks that gun trafficking and drug trafficking work through, which London is a central position, so is Bradford. That's why Bradford has such a bad issue with it. There's no way that Sadiq Khan doesn't have any idea if there's grooming gangs in London. He's absolutely fooling himself to try and even suggest that. And I can imagine the scale in London is going to be huge.
Fiona, look, thank you, Fiona. I could talk to you all day. I mean, I hope to get you back on at some point really soon. And thank you very much for just being so brave. And I'm so sorry that you feel let down again by the people who are supposed to be actually doing something about it now. And I know my viewers and listeners are going to be absolutely enraged by this. Fiona Goddard there, thank you. Take care. So Home Office spokesperson said the abuse of children by grooming gangs is one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. Any suggestion this inquiry is being watered down is completely wrong. We're committed to delivering a robust, thorough inquiry that will get to the truth and provide the answers that survivors have so long campaigned for. We're working urgently to appoint the best chair to take this forward, to deliver justice, putting victims and survivors at the heart of the process. We are grateful to all those who've shared their insights with us. We share the concerns around unhelpful speculation while the process is live, which is why we'll not be providing any running commentary. Yeah, quite unhelpful speculation. The spokesperson for the Mayor of London told GBNews this is not a cover-up, and instead Sadiq is committed to doing all that he can to protect children around London. This includes his £15.6 million violence and exploitation support service, which provides specialist support for young Londoners who are caught up in these issues, as well as supporting the Met to deliver the new child-first approach to safeguarding and tackle county lines. Right, I'm glad we did all that. Coming up at 10 p.m.
Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
Avoid any misunderstanding. Can she define what she means by that?
Yeah, well, there we go. We're going to get stuck into Sadiq Khan at 10 p.m. But before that, some extraordinary breaking news tonight. The Met Police will stop investigating non-crime hate incidents entirely. Well, it seems like a bit of a victory, this, doesn't it? Stay tuned.
I'm Michelle Dewberry. This is Jubes & Co. with you.
Hello, everyone. Patrick Christys here with GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Well, some big news today is that Britain's biggest police force, the Met, will no longer investigate non-crime hate incidents, with the force vowing not to get involved in, quote, policing toxic culture wars debates. The decision came just hours after it was announced that comedian Graham Linehan would face no further action after he was arrested by no less than 5 armed police officers for posts he made about trans people on social media. I'm joined now by the Chief Executive of Sex Matters, Maya Forstater, who was herself subject to a non-crime hate incident investigation over a social media post. Well, Maya, what do you make of this announcement by the Met, first of all? They're not going to investigate people like you anymore.
Well, I think we need to be clear about what they do and don't say. I wasn't investigated for a non-crime hate incident. I was investigated for what they said was a crime, malicious communication. And Graham was arrested for what they said was a crime. They've never investigated non-crime hate incidents. Those are just things that they write down.
Right.
They write them down to collect patterns of discrimination and sort of hostility as they define it. So the idea that they're not going to investigate them is a bit of smoke and mirrors, because that was never what they investigated. What they investigate is what they think are crimes.
Right, so basically you think this is essentially a nothing burger, so that they are saying, well, we're not going to do non-crime hate incidents, but what they will just do instead is say that we suspect your social media post is a crime.
Exactly, and they will record a crime against your name particularly if somebody from a protected group or protected strand, such as a transgender person, reports that your social media, makes them feel upset or reveals hostility. And the problem is that hostility can be as little as saying that's a man.
When it's a man.
When it is a man, yes.
Yeah. Funny world we live in, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, is this an admittance, though, in a roundabout way, that they got it wrong when they're investigating people like you, investigating people like Graham Linehan? I mean, they say they don't want to police toxic culture wars issues. But I mean, they could just focus on real crime, I suppose, quite quickly, Maya, if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean that's good news. It's good news, and I hope that the police do follow that seriously and stop demonising women and men who know what a woman is.
Well, quite, Milo, thank you so much. I'm sorry we're a bit squeezed, but we did have quite an important survivor on before, so I hope you understand. It's Maya Forstash there, is the Chief Executive of Sex Matters. Look, just on that theme of the grooming gangs issue, Sadiq Khan is really in a lot of hot water this evening. He is copping it about what he may or may not have known. I've also got a journalist on who blew the lid off Sadiq Khan's statements earlier today. You want to stay tuned for that.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, good evening. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, there will be some further showers, some further rain at times, but also a bit of dry weather for some. The big talking point, though, currently is the low pressure that's across us. It's this that's been the driving force for the heavy, thundery showers some of us have had today, and also those strong, gusty winds in places too. But a lot of that is easing as we go through this evening and overnight. Not turning completely dry, though. A few showery bursts of rain here and there, and some more persistent rain pushing in from western parts of Scotland. But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire, for example. But elsewhere, quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud, which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland, and then across much of England and Wales. Yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain is not going to be quite as heavy as what we've seen through today, so less chance of seeing any hail, some lightning, some thunder, but nonetheless it will be a bit damp at times, and perhaps the heaviest showers will be across parts of Scotland where they could merge into some longer spells of rain. Otherwise, there are actually a greater chance of seeing the sun compared to today, and with that and slightly lighter winds, for many it is going to feel a little bit warmer. Now, as we go through into Wednesday, actually through the bulk of the day, Wednesday's looking largely fine for most places. A few showers towards the northwest, but lots of dry weather. However, later on we are likely to see some very wet weather pushing into the south, and that takes us into a very unsettled day for many places, particularly across England and Wales on Thursday, with very strong winds and heavy rain.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 10 p.m. I'm Patrick Christys. Tonight,
Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Sadiq Khan is accused of a grooming gang cover-up and...
Head of that survivors panel meeting with two prospective chairs tomorrow, that not all of the members on the panel have been permitted to attend and ask questions.
GB News will exclusively reveal the shocking details of this now botched rape gang inquiry.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat.
Well, breaking news on the front page of the Daily Telegraph is this, that Prince Andrew was deemed a potential national security risk because of his close links to alleged Chinese spies. More on that when I bring you the front pages at 10:30 p.m. with my panel. We've got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, trade unionist Andy Twells and Reform Party member and former Tory party chairman Sergey Berry. And can you tell me what's going on here? Get ready, Britain. Here we go. They're trying to cover up the true extent of the Pakistani Muslim rape gang problem. Next.
Good evening, it's 2 minutes past 10. I'm Katie Bowen in the GB newsroom, and we start tonight with some breaking news. Maccabi Tel Aviv fans will not be able to buy tickets for their fixture at Villa Park next month. In a statement released a short time ago, the club said that while they acknowledge the efforts of the UK government and police to ensure both sets of fans can attend the match safely, the well-being and safety of our fans is paramount. From hard lessons learned, we have taken the decision to decline any allocation offered on behalf of away fans. Earlier today, a Number 10 spokesman said that the Prime Minister has promised to do everything in his power to get fans to the game. Maccabi Tel Aviv added that they hope that circumstances will change and look forward to being able to play in Birmingham in a sporting environment in the near future. More on that breaking story as we get it. Elsewhere, a palace source has told GB News that allegations against Prince Andrew should be examined in an appropriate way. The Metropolitan Police is actively looking into the allegations that he asked his taxpayer-funded bodyguard to dig the dirt on his sex accuser, Virginia Giuffre. It follows revelations in her memoir alleging Andrew's team even tried to hire internet trolls to hassle her online. Today, Downing Street would not be drawn on whether Parliament should pass legislation to strip Prince Andrew of his titles. The Prime Minister's official spokesman said that ministers support the judgment of the King regarding Andrew's titles. The Telegraph reports tonight, though, that there was deemed a potential national security risk of Andrew because of his close links to alleged Chinese spies. He denies all allegations. The Metropolitan Police has said that it will no longer investigate non-crime hate incidents. The move comes after it was announced today that comedian Graham Linehan would face no further action over 3 gender-critical tweets. The Met said that the decision to no longer investigate such incidents will provide clearer direction for officers. In a statement, the force said that Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley doesn't believe officers should be policing toxic culture wars debates, with current laws and rules on inciting violence online leaving them in what he calls an impossible position. Non-crime hate incidents are incidents that do not count as crimes, but are perceived to be motivated by hatred towards certain characteristics, such as race or gender. University tuition fees in England will increase every year in line with inflation from 2026 onwards, the Education Secretary has announced. Bridget Phillipson confirmed that fees will increase for the next 2 years and said that the government will then legislate to make the increase happen automatically every year after that. Maintenance loans will also increase in line with the forecast inflation each academic year. The Education Secretary said that she will not allow institutions who don't take quality seriously to make their students pay more. And the UK is ready to spend, quote, well over £100 million on a potential British deployment to Ukraine if Donald Trump secures a peace deal with Russia, the Defence Secretary has said. That cost would cover the initial deployment of troops and aircraft and is separate to the £4.5 billion cost in military aid allocated to Ukraine, it's understood. During a speech in London, John Healey said that the UK has been planning in detail, along with its coalition of the willing partners, over the last 6 months. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will travel to London to attend a meeting on Friday of that group of leaders. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Patrick.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good evening. Sadiq Khan stands accused of covering up rape gang cases in London. The allegation is this, that Sadiq Khan read reports of young girls being raped in hotels by groups of men, as well as other horrific cases, and then publicly denied there were any grooming gangs in the capital. The reports of alleged rape gangs between 2016 and 2025 involving 6 potential victims at least. These include the case of a 15-year-old girl who was raped by several men before going missing for 4 days. She was eventually found with a 21-year-old man. Another case involved a 13-year-old girl, deemed to be high risk. Police officers identified 2 men that were suspected of sexually exploiting her. There was a report in November 2016, 2 victims, one of whom was a 16-year-old, claimed to have been raped numerous times over a 3-year period by a group of men in London who then threatened to harm her and her family. Another girl was aged just 13. She went missing overnight and was reported to police as being unsafe and in a room with 3 men. The Daily Mail claims that Sadiq Khan actually provided formal statements in response to each of these reports, dating back as far as 2016. He described one as, quotes, deeply troubling. Sadiq Khan is on record saying there are, quotes, no reports and no indication of Rochdale or Rotherham-style grooming gangs in London. That claim now looks highly questionable, especially when you look at this from our national reporter, Charlie Peters. It shows an organised network of girls being trafficked for sexual abuse into London from places like Oxford and Bradford. In fact, the witness testimony from one victim and survivor is that she was repeatedly brutally raped by Pakistani men and sent to London's Paddington Station to be raped in numerous different properties. The details of that case have been publicly available since 2013. How can Sadiq Khan claim that he was not aware of things like that? And he makes his comments here all the more shameful.
So are you saying we haven't got the same sort of gangs that are in Rotherham, Bradford and lots of other places in the country?
Just for what's a misunderstanding, what does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If you could spell it out, I can answer.
Ridiculous. A fully costed grooming gang inquiry into London was actually voted down by Sadiq Khan's Labour, the Greens and the Liberal Democrats. And today, 2 victims and survivors have resigned from the National Grooming Gang Inquiry Board. Why? Well, in part because it looks like they want to put either police or social workers in charge of it, the very group of people who are implicated in the cover-up. And those survivors are concerned that broadening the scope of the inquiry will now shift the focus away from the Pakistani Muslim aspect of the rape gangs. Sadiq Khan strongly denies that he's part of a cover-up. Whether he is or not is very much a matter for his conscience, isn't it? But what seems crystal clear to me is this. People in positions of power, right across the board, are trying to do everything they can to stop the public from knowing how many Pakistani Muslim men raped and abused young white girls. Let's get our thoughts on my panel. We've got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone. We've also got trade unionist Andy Twells and Reform Party politician, former chair of the Tory party, Sir Jake Berry. Carol, lots to go out there, and I will just say very shortly we're going to talk to the journalist that kind of blew the lid off the alleged Sadiq Khan grooming gang cover-up. But just focusing on what some of the victims and survivors have said today, that they believe that there is an attempt to try to take the focus off the Pakistani Muslim aspects of this.
You know, Patrick, this happened right at the beginning when the Rochdale and Rotherham gangs were first exposed. And we were told, as a reporter, and I was reporting on them at the time, as a reporter, we were told not to say it was Pakistani Muslim gangs. We were told to just say it was sex gangs. And it wasn't until, I think it was the Daily Mail was the first paper to just print headshots of all of the people who'd been convicted. And funnily enough, they were all Pakistani Muslims. So that made it easier for us all to then report. So, yeah, it has always been the case that they have tried to cover up this aspect of it. And it must not be covered up because that's what this is all about. And I saw the young lady that you were interviewing before there saying that it's impossible that Khan would not have known about this. 4 reports he saw and responded to. And you remember there was a guy, a top cop called John Wedger, who brought up 52 instances of child abuse. He was talking about these girls being taken to hotels, being swapped for rocks of crack cocaine, being sold at 2,000 quid a time in top-end Arab restaurants in London. He gave all this stuff to the cops, the police at the time, and he was told to bury it. He was told if he carried on with it, he would lose his job, his family, his home, everything. So the cops are still trying to cover it up. Social services are still trying to cover it up. And Sadiq Khan, that bit of film you just saw at the London Assembly is shameful that a mayor of London can pretend he doesn't know what a grooming gang is.
Yeah, well, it's ridiculous.
Let's point out this guy, Sadiq Khan, has 2 young daughters. Has the guy got no conscience, no shame? It's appalling. He should be got rid of.
Jay, just on the broader issue of... So, Sir Keir Starmer was dragged kicking and screaming into a national grooming gang inquiry. And then it's emerged now that the 2 potential chairs of that, one's a police officer and one used to work in the social sector, 2 areas that need to be urgently investigated. It's like, you know, let you mark your own homework in an extent, isn't it? And that the victims and survivors were told to send pre-vetted questions to these people. Yeah. And then on top of that, they are actively trying to broaden the remit so it is not an inquiry into Pakistani rape gangs.
Well, I thought Fiona Goddard, the young woman you had on, who spoke very, very movingly about both her experience having been exploited and being a survivor of these rape gangs, but also about her experience really being gagged. I just thought it was extraordinary. The first thing they made them do is sign this gagging clause and then sort of said to them, right, OK, you can choose from 2 potential chairmen of the inquiry. One's a police officer, someone who's an organisation, a group of people who've deeply let you down as a victim, or a social worker, another organisation and group of people who've deeply let you down. For those 2 poor women who've resigned today, it's almost like re-victimising. It's really, really cruel. And what I'd say about this, it also has the smell of really disgraceful other government cover-ups like the Horizon scandal with the post office, with the sub-postmasters, who some of whom were sent to prison. It is just the establishment scrabbling as fast as it can to sort of brush over its tracks so people can't see what they knew and when. And as I say, that young woman you had on, so brave. And I'm so pleased that you gave her the airtime to talk to your GB News viewers tonight.
Well, I would have liked to have given her much more airtime, actually. But anyway, so there's the issue here, unquestionably, seems to be that there is yet another attempt to try to take the focus off how prevalent the Pakistani Muslim community is when it comes to these rape gangs. That's what the survivors are saying.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I'm not a solicitor or a barrister. I don't know too much about inquiries. I'd imagine it probably should have been chaired by an independent barrister. Shouldn't have been chaired by a former cop or a former social worker, because they're probably not... Biggest of respect to those people for putting themselves out to do it. I'm sure they're great guys. But, do you know what I mean? I think it probably should have been a legal professional, someone who is clearly independent, someone who really knows the law very well. I think that is probably what it should have been. I think on your point about Sadiq Khan earlier, I think the idea that he's covered it up is a bit of a misnomer. No. I think that implies that the cover-us up in Rotherham or, in Oxford or wherever, they were fundamental cover-ups. They were actively contributing covering ups.
He read 4 reports that talked about grooming.
And he acknowledged it, didn't he? In his response. So he didn't cover it up. He publicly...
No, he didn't publicly acknowledge it. He privately acknowledged it in emails. He did not publicly acknowledge it. He denied
Didn't he write a response to it?
He denied it publicly. But in which case, if he cares about these young women, as he's always talking about, he cares about victims of abuse, why did he turn down a £4.9 million inquiry into grooming gangs in London? Why did he turn that down if he cares about
I don't know. I think you'll have to.
What do you mean he don't know? He turned it down because he doesn't want the story to come out.
No, I think the real thing is that, Susan Hall, the failed mayoral candidate...
That's got nothing to do with anything.
Absolutely.
She held his feet to the fire and he behaved like an idiot.
She's trying to play bizarre politics with quite a serious issue.
Politics?
She's getting in.
No, hang on. No, you cannot say... She asked him a very simple question.
Well, it wasn't simple at all.
Very simple. Do you know if there are any grooming gangs in London? And he obfuscated. He actually pretended he didn't understand the question. He said, explain what I mean. 9 times she asked him that question, and 9 times he refused to answer.
Well, he did know, didn't he? This is the thing.
Can I just respond?
Just go through that.
He did know.
But just go through that. It's right. He obviously did know. And
I think, he's written public responses to it before.
Yes.
So why didn't he come out and say it at the time?
So I think in that mayor's questions, obviously I can't speak for Sadiq Khan. I wasn't there. I'm not advising him.
Well, you just seen it.
Yeah, I know. I watched it. If you'd let me have a moment, Carol, please. I think the issue is that grooming gangs is an extremely broad thing. It can be grooming into county lines. It can be grooming into sex trafficking.
So you're doing it
in London. There are lots of grooming gangs into county lines. There aren't that many that are sex gangs like the ones in Rotherham. That's the issue.
She was trying to make talking about that.
She was trying to make a political point out of it, and she failed.
So there is, in my view, a warped belief and ideology on the left in this country, particularly represented by the Labour Party and people like Sadiq Khan, who feel that if you admit that this is taking place, it will in some way destabilise the country. It will, demonstrate to the British public that immigration has been negative, or that there are some, communities or groups of people who are more likely to commit crime. And they think that's destabilising. I say, so what? Let the British people see the truth and make their own minds up. Do not cover these things up. Do not, spare these vile individuals who are raping our young girls from proper scrutiny, because your political ideology thinks that it's unhelpful to have a particular group in society identified as the perpetrators. If that is the facts of the situation, let the people see the facts. They can make their own minds up.
We've been here before, OK? So the fact is that we've had issues in the past where they've not been open about the Pakistani Muslim aspect to this, where police forces across the country have admitted that one of the reasons why they allowed this to go on for so long was because they were afraid of seeming racist.
Absolutely.
And this has been now the most public this issue has ever been in the past few months. But, thanks to Charlie.
And the cover-up is continuing.
And now they're trying to put it back in the box.
With this level of focus on it, knowing that these rape gang survivors are now... They've summoned up the strength to be able to come out publicly one more time and put themselves, relive all of this trauma, and now they're trying to make them essentially sign gagging orders. have the people who are from industries that need to be investigated as part of it, and then also try to hide from us, again, the true scale of the
Which shows you they don't give a stuff about these young women, about their wrecked lives, about what's happened, and they're just performing this inquiry. It's a box-ticking exercise. They don't give a stuff.
What did you think of the 2022 inquiry that the Tories did? All those recommendations, they didn't implement them.
They didn't
Would you
implement
condemn that?
Well, of course I'd condemn that. All I care about is the women at the heart of it all, and they haven't had justice in any way, shape or form. Not from Tories, and certainly not now from Labour. Labour has had the chance to rectify that, and they're not doing it. They're trying to put it back in the box and say, let's not just blame Pakistani Muslim gangs for this. This is happening everywhere. No, what we're talking about and what that young woman was talking about tonight was the Pakistani
So when
gangs.
Sadiq Khan is on record as saying that he hasn't seen any evidence of grooming gangs in London, right? Is that a lie?
Is this based off the clip?
Based off the clip and also the quote.
What he said,
his own report.
He said there were no reports of grooming gangs in the
That's not
capital.
true of Rotherham and another
He said
style.
in the capital.
Yeah.
No reports of grooming gangs in the capital.
Wait, it was of
even
X
no
style, it was a very specific
indication
style.
and no
He
indication.
denied that
You're
there was
not
an extremely
listening.
specific
I'm telling you
style.
what he said.
You're reading the wrong quote. You're
I'm
reading
not
the wrong
reading
quote.
the wrong
You are
quote.
reading the
And
wrong
no
quote.
indication of their existence.
Carol, you are reading the wrong quote.
Let me...
Oh,
well, I don't think she is, actually. But
I'm not reading.
Let me bring
Please
up this
read
case
it out.
from 2013.
He wasn't mayor in 2013.
Yeah, I know.
We're
but
not
this is the
talking
point. Let
about
me finish. Child prostitute ring groomed and then raped vulnerable girls. So there was evidence of grooming gangs operating in the capital city, of which he has been mayor since 2016, going as far back as 2013. So for him to sit there and say that there's been no evidence of it, or to pretend like he doesn't know what we're talking about...
Can you read him the quote? Because the quote I've got is this about no reports of grooming gangs.
It was a specific
in the
style of
capital.
grooming. I don't think he'd ever deny there's grooming gangs in the capital.
Well, he
there are
did.
lots of grooming gangs in the
He
capital.
did.
Whether it's county lines, whether it's sex trafficking, there are plenty.
Why do you
it's the
think-
specific type that he denies.
If there has been a cover-up by Sadiq Khan, why do you think that is, Jake?
Well,
I genuinely think it's part of his belief. I can't speak for him, but it appears from his behaviour he has a belief that if you talk about the unifying element of this across our nation, across England, which is the Pakistani Muslim connection, that it will destabilise London, its population, and it will undermine people's view of the positive nature of immigration to London. As I say, I think he's wrong. I think people are quite capable of looking at the facts and making their own minds up. And when you get to the point, Carol, let me finish. When you get to the point where the government, agencies, the government police, social services, the mayor, the councils in London, when you get to the point that people understand or think that they are hiding information from them, you have a general collapse in people's trust in institutions, which is much more damaging, actually. This is what Sadiq Khan should think about. It's much more damaging than finding wrongdoers and saying these are vile, horrible individuals, we should punish them.
It's also, look, now is the time, right? There's this inquiry. It's supposed to get right into the weeds of this in a way that no other inquiry has, and rip right through every single echelon of society, whether it's magistrates, whether it's the police, whether it's care sector, all of that stuff.
Politicians, no one should be protected.
And if they are trying to cover things up about the aspect of the Pakistani Muslim element, the logical conclusion that I would come to there is that the truth is so awful that it would have massive, massive consequences for Britain. And we're going to get the truth, one way or the other. So they might as well be a part of that.
Are we?
I suppose we are, because it's not going away. A spokesperson for the Mayor of London told GB News it is not a cover-up, and instead said, Sadiq is committed to doing all he can to protect children in London from organised criminal and sexual exploitation and bring perpetrators to justice. This includes his £15.6 million Violence and Exploitation Support Service, which provides specialist support for young Londoners who are vulnerable, caught up in or being exploited by criminal gangs in the capital, as well as supporting the Met to deliver a new child-first approach to safeguarding and enforcement actions to tackle county lines. We've also got a spokesperson for the Metropolitan Police who said, we are utterly committed to protecting vulnerable children and bringing those responsible to justice. Our data shows that group-based child sexual abuse and exploitation picture in London is more varied than in other parts of the country and does not neatly align with patterns of methodology, ethnicity or nationality seen elsewhere and reported extensively. Well, there you go. I mean, people can make that what they do.
Took it away from the Pakistani Muslim gangs there. He brought in every other aspect of looking after young people. He was moving it away. Exactly what we're talking about.
And I think the complacency there from the Met is absolutely appalling. It's a deeply flawed institution, and this independent inquiry, a London-based one or the national one, needs to look at Khan and London.
All right, well, look, very, very shortly, I'm actually joined by the man who reported today blew the lid off the Sadiq Khan alleged cover-up, so I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing what he has to say there. But, of course, as ever, we have to crowbar this in. It's the Great British Giveaway.
There's just 3 weeks left to see how you could be our biggest winner this year with a prize worth over £104,000. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. Worth over £74,000, this luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps 4, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Someone is guaranteed to win our biggest prize to date, so make sure that winner could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck, everyone. Right, coming up, the grooming gang survivor that I interviewed earlier, Fiona Goddard, her claims that Labour are sabotaging the national inquiry have made the front of the Daily Telegraph. So more on that shortly. And can you tell me what's wrong with this? Yes, I'll tell you exactly what very shortly. But yes, next, though, I am joined by the Daily Express journalist who exposed the Sadiq Khan grooming gang scandal, the alleged cover-up there. Don't go anywhere.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
After Diana's tragic death, and he goes into a lot of the detail in the Spare, Harry was traumatized, in denial even, and also there's no question he took to drugs and drink as a part of a panacea. He was able to find himself in the military, but there's absolutely no doubt that that unquestionably changed him.
Well, I mean, both boys did go through it. I mean, like you, I covered the funeral. I stood there and watched him walk behind their mother's coffin. I mean, it did affect both boys, didn't it? But it's Harry is the one that seemed to be searching and angry more than his older brother. And so, I mean, Meghan being a mother figure, it does kind of make sense.
Well, in that sense, it conceivably could. I mean, in the Mirror, he was talking about even fantasizing, I suggest, about Diana living in California as a sort of granny figure, which I have to say, it's very hard to anticipate what would have happened, but there's absolutely no doubt that that was the catalyst, and truly, truly tragic.
Yeah, of course it was. It was horrible, and it's a horrific thing to happen to two young boys like that. What do you think Meghan would make of this comment that she is a mother figure to her husband?
Well, I think that she would appreciate the fact that of the two of them, she is very definitely the dominant figure. That is definitely what comes across, and that is the way most people interpret the way their relationship. And I mean, I think they're still in love. I think that the relationship on the whole is working very well. It's hard to be precise because the net is flooded with rumours, as you know, about everything.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Look, coming up, I've got all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, but I've got some really big, important stuff for you now, because there's been a huge U-turn on the grooming gang issue by the Metropolitan Police. It comes after an explosive investigation by the Daily Express, revealing that young girls have been raped in the capital's hotels by groups of men, and it's been going on for a very long period of time. That is, of course, despite Sadiq Khan's repeated claims that grooming gangs are not operating in London, although he denies claims of a cover-up. This is what the mayor had to say when he was questioned on the issue in 2020.
Are you looking in London for grooming gangs in London in order to prosecute people? Because if it's going on in cities like Oxford and Bristol and Peterborough and Aylesbury, smaller places, it's surely going on in London as well on a large scale.
Can I just be clear, Chair? Is the inference that because of my faith or my ethnic origin, I'm not seeking to follow these crimes?
No, I'm asking you because you're the Police and Crime Commissioner.
Yeah, well, I'm very pleased to be joined in the studio now by the investigations editor at the Daily Express, Zach Garner-Perkis. Zach, thank you. Now, the latest line then on this, there's been a big U-turn by the Metropolitan Police. Go on.
So 24 hours after we hit them with, or their deadline was to come back with us for an answer into the investigation, the Met Police, Sir Mark Rowley, he went to the London Assembly and essentially he made a massive reversal of what the Met Police has been saying for years and years. So they have consistently denied that we have what I think the words Sean Bailey asked him in February and said, do we have any of these sexual exploitation gangs in London? Mark Rowley said, I can't tell you what I don't see. On Thursday, after we had, they'd read everything that was going to come out in our investigation, he stands up in front of the London Assembly and he says there have a very significant number of cases that are being reinvestigated and reassessed as part of the Home Office, Yvette Cooper's review. So we've gone from he's not seen anything to a very significant number. And what you've got to place this in is also the context of what Sadiq Khan has been saying. So in June, Sadiq Khan said that there was no indication that any of the cases the Home Office were being looked at. The Home Office, Yvette Cooper, she went out there, she said, we're going to look at all these grooming gang cases across the country. Sadiq Khan says there's no indication anywhere in London. And then his commissioner stands up and says, not only that there's a very significant number, but it's going to cost many millions over several years. And he's actually asking for funding from central government to pay for all these cases they're going to have to look at.
So two significant mistruths here, as I understand them. The first one is the Metropolitan Police denying to you, and to everyone actually, that there was a grooming gang issue in London, only to reveal to you and to everyone earlier today or yesterday that there are a, quote, very significant number. So that's the opposite of what they said previously. And then Sadiq Khan saying there's no indication that this Home Office review is going to include any cases in London. It also turns out that that's not true.
Well, it's like, how can those two things sit side by side? That's the question, right? And, well, I should just clarify a little bit with this. So what the Met did was they responded to us with the statement that you've read, right? Yeah. Then Mark Rowley turns up at a London Assembly meeting and suddenly an off-topic question comes in from the Labour member that is all of a sudden on rape gangs, right? And he goes, oh, OK, and then suddenly comes out with this. When we had the last grooming gangs inquiry, right, when was it, 6 or 7 years ago, they said, we're not seeing it. We're not saying it's not there, but we're not seeing it. All of a sudden, that has completely changed to very significant number.
So what is that, if not a cover-up?
I mean, it looks like a cover. I mean, I don't want to put the term on it, but that's what it's like. That if you say one thing and then something, the complete opposite emerges, and it's like over that period of time, what have you been doing? What was Sadiq doing? So Sadiq has what we know publicly. So all those reports in our investigation, right? That's just what was out there in the public. That's just the public record, right? What was he getting in the intelligence briefings? In June, when he said there was no indication, why was he so confident of that? And why have we ended up with the complete opposite situation now?
But is this because Sadiq Khan as well, for people at home, is also the Police and Crime Commissioner, isn't he? Yeah. For London. Now, I don't know how people at home would feel about this, but I would have thought that if you are not truthful about the grooming gang issue, or at best what he might be able to claim, or what Mark Rowley might be able to claim, is incompetence, on either of those two things, they're resigning matters, aren't they, in a normal world?
That's what people have said to us. I mean, yeah, if on something this serious, because I'll tell you something as well, right? I have spent the past month reading report after report of the cases. You've read them out in the show. They are horrific. I don't understand how you can read those reports and then stand up. And the threshold that Sadiq Khan has set is not like, oh, you know, some of the stuff that was said earlier on in the show, it was like, oh, there's not reports of it. His line is, there is no indication. It's like, that is a very low bar. No indication. How can you be so confident? And how can you have read those reports? I've read them, still stuck in my head. How are they not stuck in his?
I just want to ask you this, because I hope you don't mind, but when I speak to you, it's the first time we've met, I think, I feel like I'm looking at a man who is having a very normal human reaction to reading a carousel of sickening detail about some of the worst crimes imaginable. And that has obviously affected you, hasn't it? And do you find it very hard to wrap your head around how anybody else, whether it's in police or in politics, could read what you've read and not do more about it?
I don't understand how any human being can read those reports and not be affected. There's got to be something seriously wrong with you. Right? I do investigations. I have to deal with some pretty grisly stuff, right? You know, I've been to Ukraine, I've been to war zones, I've dealt with, gangsters from Albania, all the rest of it. This stuff is the worst. Like, it's the worst. And it's not just that they've read it, it's like, they will tell, like, when you look through and you see the responses that they've given to each of these things, they've said, the first report that had that thing about, a child being threatened with their life. Yeah. Sadiq Khan comes out and he says, things need to change, right? You fast forward, February 2024, we had a case there. Maggie Oliver, absolutely, the expert on it, said 100% a grooming gang. He reads that and he says, I'm reassured by the progress that was being made. So he's digesting all of this. So, like you say, there is, what is it? Has he missed that part of the report? I mean, Sadiq, tell us. What I would love is because you know what he's done today? He's posted something about Diwali, and he has not addressed this. Clear it up. If you've got an explanation for it, clear it up.
All right. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the work you've been doing and what the Daily Express has been doing as well on this and everything. Zach, you take care, all right? And the thing is, I will just say on this, you're looking at people like Zach there, you're listening to the panel that we've got, our own Charlie Peters here, we've got shows like this. If people like Sadiq Khan or other people think this is going away, then they need to give their heads a check. It's not. You might as well just get it over with, because it's coming for you. It's coming. We're going to get to the bottom of this stuff. Thank you very, very much. Look, we heard statements from Sadiq Khan's office and the Met Police denying any cover-up and relaying their work to tackle child exploitation. I've actually read those out twice this show, so if they're watching, please feel free to go back, and we would echo that yet again. And, of course, we don't have any solid evidence of a definitive cover-up. Coming up, I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and actually the grooming gang survivor that I spoke to earlier on, Fiona Goddard, her claims about Labour sabotaging this national inquiry have made the front of the Telegraph. We'll talk about that and the latest Prince Andrew developments. Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
It's an unsettled picture across much of the Mediterranean over the next couple of days, with heavy showers around, particularly across northern parts of Spain and Portugal, southern parts of France, northern parts of Italy, perhaps even some snow over the Alps too. Southern parts of Italy, parts of Greece and northern parts of Turkey faring better in terms of some sunny spells, and temperatures quite widely in the high teens or low 20s for many, but with a bit more dry weather around as we head through the second half of the week. Those temperatures on the rise into the low, potentially mid-20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello again, good evening. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, there will be some further showers, some further rain at times, but also a bit of dry weather for some. The big talking point, though, currently is the low pressure that's across us. It's this that's been the driving force for the heavy, thundery showers some of us have had today, and also those strong, gusty winds in places too. But a lot of that is easing as we go through this evening and overnight. Not turning completely dry, though. A few showery bursts of rain here and there, and some more persistent rain pushing in from western parts of Scotland. But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire, for example. But elsewhere, quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud, which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland. And then across much of England and Wales, yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain is not going to be quite as heavy as what we've seen through today, so less chance of seeing any hail, some lightning, some thunder, but nonetheless, it will be a bit damp at times, and perhaps the heaviest showers will be across parts of Scotland where they could merge into some longer spells of rain. Otherwise, there are actually a greater chance of seeing the sun compared to today, and with that and slightly lighter winds, for many it is going to feel a little bit warmer. Now, as we go through into Wednesday, actually through the bulk of the day, Wednesday's looking largely fine for most places. A few showers towards the northwest, but lots of dry weather. However, later on we are likely to see some very wet weather pushing into the south, and that takes us into a very unsettled day for many places, particularly across England and Wales on Thursday, with very strong winds and heavy rain.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. Let's give you the first look at tomorrow's newspaper front pages. The Daily Mail has gone for just how can Andrew afford Royal Lodge? Apparently he hasn't paid rent there for 2 decades. Well, that's how he affords it, isn't it? He doesn't pay. But anyway, The Guardian. Prince tried to hire trolls to target Giuffre, but claims that's another Prince Andrew story there. The Daily Telegraph. Grooming inquiry sabotaged by Labour. Now, this is the same survivor that I spoke to earlier on in my show. And yeah, she's saying that Labour are really seriously trying to sabotage the Grooming Gang inquiry. The Independent, Powell's attack on Starmer, we must turn Labour around. Frontrunner for deputy leadership takes aim at the Prime Minister over missteps and mistakes, saying she was sacked for opposing cuts and that party must reconnect with lost voters. The Metro, something went wrong, and they've blurred out the thing there to articulate the fact there was a worldwide wobble after there was a tech giant glitch. Let's just focus on Prince Andrew here, really. I mean, we might as well go with, I suppose, let's go for The Guardian, why not? So Prince Andrew tried to hire trolls to target Virginia Giuffre. This is what's...
That's a two-day-old story. The Mail on Sunday broke that yesterday.
In that case, then, Carol, let's focus on the Daily Mail. Just how can Andrew afford Royal Lodge? So, apparently, he's basically not paying to live there, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's true. And so the question has to arise, doesn't it? Where is he getting his money from? Which is one of the reasons why I think one of the reasons is that they want him out of the royal family is because there are so many stories about Andrew. I've been writing for the last 30 years about his dealings with foreign tyrants, his dodgy dealings with dodgy leaders of
spies
countries
as well.
Well, apart from the spies, I'm talking about the reasons where he made lots of money. When he was trade ambassador for this country, it seemed to be an excuse for him to fly around the world meeting dodgy dictators. So yes, the question is, where does his money come from?
Well, there was that story a while ago, wasn't there, where he sold one of his properties for a couple of million quid above asking price.
Well, that was bought by, was it someone in Saudi?
I think it was a Kazakhstani man.
And the house that hit him...
Which is weird. Why would someone willingly pay a couple of million more than what you're asking them to pay?
Well, because maybe you've done them some favours in the past, or he wants you to do some favours for him in the future.
The upholstery could be very nice.
Maybe, yes.
We'll never know. I mean, I just think he's
wrong...
We will know. I do feel like we're just beating a dead horse. He's a wrong 'un. He was friends with pedos and apparently now spies. Like, he's not a good guy. I don't think this book release is going to do anything good for him.
So I think the book release is interesting because obviously he settled with Virginia Giuffre out of court. He denies any wrongdoing. A big part of that, I would guess, was a very significant confidentiality, a gagging order, as we'd call it. But that falls away as soon as someone dies, and Virginia Giuffre took her own life, tragically. And so this has enabled this book, her memoir, to come out, naming all the things that he probably thought were locked away as part of that court settlement, sort of forever almost in his case. And, that, I think, is going to be explosive. When the book, I think, is dropping tomorrow. And I think the problems that Prince Andrew has are just going to get worse and worse. And this is a big challenge for the King and the royal family, because they probably don't know what to do next. They've done as much as they thought this would go away.
Isn't the problem here, the monarchy is already under threat? People are saying, why should it exist now? Why should this family live the life they do?
Good question.
So it's already under threat. And every week there's a story about Andy that comes out that undermines the monarchy even more, which undermines all the good work that everyone else... The King is doing some blinding work at the moment, as are Kate and Wills. And it's all been overshadowed by him and what he's done recently and in the past.
Can I just say, we've got... I can reveal to you now that our very own Cameron Walker has, I believe, our royal correspondent, had advance sight of this book and has got a special package for you on that in my next hour. So you can be ahead of the game and watch that, and we can play that for you. So there you go. I just want to bring another story to your attention. It's not on any of the front pages, but I think it's a real go at this. An international manhunt is currently underway tonight after a mass gang broke into the world-famous Louvre Museum in Paris and stole priceless jewellery that once belonged to Napoleon Bonaparte's family. The thieves struck in broad daylight, breaking into the museum's Apollo Gallery just after opening. In a raid lasting only 7 minutes, they smashed display cases and escaped with 9 items, including a sapphire tiara and an emerald necklace worn by Napoleon's Empress, Marie-Louise. The gang arrived on scooters, used an extendable ladder to enter through a construction zone and fled before police had arrived. The Louvre remains closed as investigators hunt the thieves.
So where were the security guards? When you have that kind of extendable ladder, it takes a while to get up. It's quite a big ladder. That wasn't 4 minutes. That must have been a lot longer than that.
This stuff always seems to happen in Paris. I mean, they're called the Pink Panthers, who do this kind of stuff. They've attacked France numerous times. Some similar group went after Kim Kardashian, you might remember, recently. There was also people who went after another one at one of the museums, stole unbelievable amounts of priceless artwork. Oh, well, not technically priceless, just millions, isn't it? I think that's what that really means. So, yeah, I mean, it's remarkable. It always needs to happen in Paris. Anyway, coming up, some breaking news on the front of the Telegraph, on the front of the Times, sorry, is a bit more about Prince Andrew. He's not paid rent in his Grace and Favour mansion in the Windsor estate for 2 decades. Talk about that and much more next.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
360,000 people are without a home, thousands of whom are on the street, but most are living in terrible, terrible conditions, bedsits, awful B&Bs above rows of shops and hostels. 160,000 of those are children. Can you imagine trying to perform at school or in your job? And this is a crisis, Dawn, and it costs billions. That's the worst thing. We spend about £4 billion a year dealing with this, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Well, let's talk about those 160,000 children, because that's the thing that affected me when I read it this morning. Couldn't believe the numbers of children that are homeless in this country. How is this happening, Andy?
What's happening, Ellie? It's complex, but the biggest single issue, the simplest issue, is that we do not have enough homes. We don't build enough. To put it really simply, if you have a population of 10 people and you have 9 homes, somebody is going to be without a home, and that's what we've got. So when we don't build enough, somebody loses out. It's gone on for decades, by the way. Somebody loses out, and it's always going to be the poorest. It's the people who live the most chaotic lives, or have the least money, are going to be at that bottom and falling out of it. And it's absolute chaos. Ellie, the worst thing about this, it's really fixable. We can get people off the streets. We can create the medium-term accommodation to transition people from the streets, from shelters, into more permanent places. We can do this by reprioritising some of the 2.8 billion. We spend 2.8 billion quid just sticking people into really expensive overnight B&Bs. As I say, awful, crummy places above kebab shops where kids are growing up for months on end and struggling with lack of space. We can fix it, but there just isn't the political will.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
OK, welcome back. So, got the last round of newspaper front pages for you. The Times, Andrew has not paid rent since 2003. So, as Prince Andrew, just that, really, not paying rent. The Eye paper, revolutionary bionic chip helps blind patients to regain sight. Interesting story, that, I must say. The Sun, Katie X charged with raping girl 13. Right, well, we're obviously not going to discuss this any further because it sounds like a very active case. However, I'll give you some detail. Katie Price's ex-husband, Kieran Hayler, has been charged with 3 counts of rape and 1 of sexual assault against a girl of the age of 13. It says the accuser is not a member of their extended family. I've got no indication here about how he's pleaded, so we will leave that there. The Daily Express. For the safety and dignity of every woman and girl. These are the brave NHS nurses waging a historic fight for female-only spaces. These are, I believe, the Darlington nurses. Yes, it is. Yep. Who are doing tremendous work just trying to restore common sense. Of course, comes into focus after a bloke pretending to be a woman who happened to be a Nigerian man was operating in the NHS with it for impunity for months. So there you go. Right. Well, I suppose the fact that Prince Andrew hasn't paid rent is is a thing here. I mean, does King Charles now have to charge him and just evict him?
Well, he can't charge him because his only income is 20 grand a year from his naval pension. And they're saying that the Queen didn't leave him any money and that the Queen Mum didn't leave him any money, which I found really hard to believe.
He's really blown it, hasn't he?
Because Andrew was her favourite son, so why would...
I bet he's sweating now, Carol, isn't he? But he did pay £8.5 million up front when he took the lease.
Where did that come from?
Well, it's in the paper.
Well, I know
he paid £1 million. He paid £1 million premium to sign the lease, and then £7.5 million for refurbishments. But I go back to the point. Whatever he's paid, the British public just do not want this man in taxpayer-funded, rent-free property, grace and favour, whatever you want to call it. And this is a huge problem for the King. You know, they've stopped him using his Royal Duke title. They've taken his HRH away from him. What can they do next? I would have thought the palace is there scratching their head saying, you know, what can we possibly do to make this man go away and get out of the headlines?
Around the corner here for allegations of being involved with a Chinese spy.
Well, I think the police investigation potentially could be in relation to asking close protection officers, as disclosed in the papers over the weekend, to smear Virginia Giuffre. But the royal family just do not need this. I honestly don't know how they make it go away.
But Charles tried to get him out of Royal Lodge last year. He told him to
and
get
he continues
out.
to do
He offered
so.
him Frogmore Cottage, which is not a dump. I mean, that had just had £2 million spent on it. That was Harry and Meghan's house. And he just refused to go. What can you do with a guy who just refuses to leave? What can you do?
Get the bailiffs in, aren't they?
Well, they're not going to get the bailiffs in, are they?
I do agree.
But
what do you do? What do you do? I mean, the government have just announced some new apprenticeships. You could...
Well, maybe you could do that. Absolutely. Well, look, right, thank you very much. We've got another hour coming your way. Like I said, we've got some exclusive info for you on Virginia Giuffre's book. We're also going to be revisiting the rape gang scandal, which appears to be covered up again by Labour. Stay tuned.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, good evening. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Now, as we go through the rest of today and into tomorrow, there will be some further showers, some further rain at times, but also a bit of dry weather for some. The big talking point, though, currently is the low pressure that's across us. It's this that's been the driving force for the heavy, thundery showers some of us have had today, and also those strong, gusty winds in places too. But a lot of that is easing as we go through this evening and overnight. Not turning completely dry, though. A few showery bursts of rain here and there, and some more persistent rain pushing in from western parts of Scotland. But there will also be some clearer skies around, and so although most towns and cities will hold up in double digits, where you get those clear breaks, temperatures could take a bit of a drop, particularly over some eastern parts of Scotland. Could see a touch of frost, maybe even some fog in some parts, around Aberdeenshire, for example. But elsewhere, quite a murky start to the day, quite grotty with some cloud, which could be quite low. There'll be outbreaks of rain, not especially heavy, but perhaps some heavier bursts across some parts of Northern Ireland. And then across much of England and Wales, yes, there will be some early brightness, some sunshine around for quite a few parts, particularly towards the east, but also some further showery rain. Now, the showery rain, it's not going to be quite